we get it going with the first news video of the day, and we actually have a mini preview of Raw tonight with, um, basically with members of the Bloodline and members of the Judgment Day shifting gears, with Solo Sikoa going up against Rey Mysterio tonight on Raw, and Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn, and Matt Riddle teaming up in a six-man tag team match against the Judgment Day. I don't know how I feel about the Judgment Day competing in a six-man tag team match. I mean, I know that takes a little bit of the pressure off of Finn Balor, but with Finn Balor's injury history recently, I would rather see Finn take some time away from the ring as opposed to, keep competing unless he is, at least, 75, 80% or maybe even 100%. Because I know he's been a little shaken up, or he was a little shaken up going into WrestleMania, so having him compete before he's 100%, I don't know how I feel about that, but to be fair, I don't know if he is 100% or not, but I guess there's also a difference between competing in a six-man and competing in a singles match. But either way, tonight on Raw, six-person tag team action, Owens, Zayn, and Riddle against the Judgment Day, and Solo Sikoa in one of his biggest matches to date against WWE Hall of Famer Rey Mysterio. Also, we got some updates from Nick Khan, as Nick Khan mentioned that following the announcement of the merger, Nick Khan released an email or mentioned that, excuse me, Nick Khan mentioned that Executive Chairman Vince McMahon released an email to WWE employees basically detailing the fact that Triple H was in complete control of WWE Creative, but to say that Triple H does not seek advice on occasion from McMahon would be a lie, because, as Nick Khan says, Vince is a valued member of WWE, and it would be inept of Triple H to not seek some input from Mr. McMahon based on Vince's knowledge and previous experience in the wrestling business, and the long-standing relationship that Vince and Triple H have. It is something that is expected because of their long-standing relationship. I don't disagree that Vince has knowledge of the wrestling business. I don't disagree that Vince and Triple H have a long-standing relationship. But to say that Vince is a valued member of the roster, I think that Triple H and Vince have a difference in opinion based on what type of creative works and what type of creative different. Triple H's creative is different than Vince's creative. And basically, to say that Triple H and Vince think the same from the standpoint of wrestling, they absolutely do not. They absolutely do not think the same in any way, shape, or form. And Vince thinks more from an entertainment standpoint. Triple H thinks more from a wrestling standpoint. I think Triple H realizes that the wrestling standpoint is what works better for WWE at this point right now. But I don't know that Vince could go away from the sports entertainment standpoint and go more towards the wrestling standpoint at this point in his life, because I don't know that he's capable of thinking that differently. And I don't know that he's capable of seeing what's best for WWE and not what is best for his perspective of what is best for WWE. Because what he thinks is best for WWE is not what is best for WWE anymore. And that's why I'm not going to say that Vince does not belong in WWE. I'm going to say that Vince maybe doesn't belong in creative anymore. And nothing can make me think differently about that. The other aspect is that Nick Khan spoke about the idea of NBC possibly supporting a more risque-esque or a more edgy a more edgier third hour of Raw as a part of the contract negotiations for the media rights deal, that they may support a more edgier version of Monday Night Raw, which basically I would say probably would be something similar to how WWE did it back in the Attitude Era, where they had, or the initial concept with Raw during the Attitude Era, where hour number 1 of Raw was one thing, and then hour number 2 was the War Zone, where it was meant to be looked at as a little bit more edgy than hour number 1. I don't know if that's what, that's sort of what they're going for, but there is a rumor that it could see Blood coming back to the company. I don't want Blood coming back if they're going to go the route of having Blood come back and have it be seen every week. Blood should be used as a tool to help push feuds. Like, the first thing I thought of when I saw the brawl between Cody Rhodes, or the beatdown between Cody Rhodes and Brock Lesnar a couple of weeks ago, or on the Raw after Mania, was that if Blood was in that feud, if Cody started bleeding during that brawl, either bleeding from the mouth or bleeding from the face, if he got cut, whatever the case is, if Cody showed blood, that would have helped that would have helped build sympathy for Cody Rhodes, because that's what Blood should be used for. Blood should be used as a tool, as a storytelling tool, to help build sympathy and build intensity in a rivalry. It should not be overexposed like it has been in AEW. It should not be overexposed like it has been in AEW, because it loses its importance and it loses any sort of intrigue or any sort of reason, or it makes fans overexposed and destigmatized. Not destigmatized. Desensitized. That's the word. Sorry, desensitized. It would make fans desensitized to the idea, like they are in AEW, because of the amount of times that because of how often Jon Moxley bleeds, fans are desensitized to it, and instead of using it as a tool to help build intensity in a rivalry, it is, oh, I want to bleed, so I'm gonna bleed. It's like, no, it should be something that is used sparingly, not often. And nothing can make me change my opinion on that. I would be happy to see Blood come back, but if it's used sparingly and when it's necessary, as opposed to often, ridiculously often, where it loses its importance and it loses any sort of, credibility, and fans get a little desensitized to it. But that's just my opinion. But as we wrap up this news video, we got an update on Johnny Gargano, as Johnny Gargano re-aggravated his injury, his shoulder injury, that kept him out of action in early January, which would have forced him to possibly miss the Royal Rumble. And, unfortunately, fortunately, it looks like the company is just letting him rest and hoping that he can avoid surgery. But there is no guarantee at this point that he can avoid surgery. And I also want to pass it along to Hiroshi Tanahashi, who broke 2 ribs and was taken out of a 6-man tag team match at a recent, I believe it was DC show for New Japan, Washington DC show recently for New Japan. He was taken out of a 6-man tag team match, which became a tag team title defense for Aussie Open, against Lio Rush and Yoshi-Hashi. Basically, I wish nothing but the best to both Tanahashi and Johnny Gargano, and I do hope that Gargano can avoid surgery and that he can get back in the ring sooner rather than later. Because Gargano, competing in the Royal Rumble and competing in his match against Grayson Waller, he was competing in his match with Grayson Waller with one good arm. So it should raise the amount of respect that you have for Gargano that he could do what he did with Waller with one good arm and basically one arm that was not able to do much. So I got nothing but respect to both Gargano and Hiroshi Tanahashi and wish nothing but the best for them in their recoveries. With that being said, though, that is it for this news video, and I will see you in the next one.